Well, the official first day of summer isn't quite here, but it certainly feels like it's already arrived. And of course, who has already arrived is Jason Matity, our resident fishing expert today. We were both on the lake this weekend. You were fishing, I wasn't, but you said it's a good time to start already. The water's warm and the fish are out. Well,
you know what's really cool is that when it's not too windy, you can actually see the fish strike your lure because the water's still really clear.
Yeah.
You know, the algae hasn't grown up yet or anything. And Ice actually had a walleye and several perch. I watched him swim up and just inhale the bait, which was so cool to see. Because that's not something you see in southern Saskatchewan very often. Like, our visibility is usually like that.
Once we get green into July.
Exactly. And even when the wind gets up, everything gets stirred up too, right? But I guess the big thing I want to talk about today is getting kids involved in fishing. And it really, the key to hooking kids, getting them hooked on it, is targeting perch.
Okay.
Quantity over quality.
Right, and we were just saying that when you go fishing, it's nice to get a bite. Whether or not it's a big fish, whether or not it's pike, it's a perch, to get a bite, and that's, I think, what kids want. Is they don't want to sit out there all day. They get bored on the boat. So to catch something little, what are your tips?
Well, essentially, go with small lures. Now, this one the camera can barely see, you know, but this is an artificial bait that looks a lot like a minnow.
Yeah.
Right? And so you just twitch it along. And what's really cool is I've been doing really well on perch this year with this. It's a 1/16 ounce jig and a rubber tail. And if they get finicky, I'll put a worm on or a leech. But this rubber tail, they've just been crushing this thing. And the cool thing is you load it up with a rod and reel combo like this that I have, which is light, 4-pound test line on it. Yeah. And you just feel them go bam like that, you know, and even perch this big just really hit it. And what was cool is that a couple of friends of ours in some video I provided here, they hadn't caught a fish yet, and their dads called me and said, "What do I got to do to get my son a fish?" Yeah. And I said, really, what you got to do is you have to make sure, is that it's all about targeting perch, because as they say, it's quantity over quality with these bites. And and there you go. So,
and I mean, we also were just saying before, not everybody has the luxury of a boat, not everybody has the luxury of a cabin, but you always have the luxury of picking up a rod and a reel and a little bit of bait. Talk about fishing off a boat versus fishing off the dock. What do you do if you don't have a boat?
Well, you know, the boat gets you outside that weed line, gets you a little deeper, gets you more into walleye territory later on in the summer. But in a lot of lakes, the weeds aren't too bad yet. You know, you cast out, and kids get really impatient. It's like, I get weed after weed after weed. You know, what's really cool about this rubber tail that I'm, talking about today is that it falls slower because it's got more bulk. So you can ride it up above the weeds pretty well. And then if the weeds get too heavy, you can just put on like a bobber like this, just a little clip-on bobber, and that's a little bit close, but you can adjust it so that it's a foot or two above. And lots of times, if that bait's just hovering over their head, it's hypnotic to a perch, and they're just like, oh man, I gotta eat that thing, right? And I'll just come in and grab it. And then you're above the weeds, and you're totally weed proof, and you're still able to catch them from shore. The other one that I used to do, you're talking about in the Qu'Appelle lakes, is jigging right off the end of the dock. Perch will congregate under the docks because they have this lovely overhead cover from birds. You know, like birds can't get at them, and it's nice and cool and shady under there, and then they'll just dart out.
And you're saying right now, too, especially this time of June, the fish are closer to the shore, a little bit warmer, so you're actually more likely to maybe catch a fish off the dock right now in June.
Absolutely. Like, it's a real shallow water fishing opportunity now because that's where the water warms up first. That's where the food chain starts, the bugs, the beetles, all those things, and the fish come in and eat them. And I mean, some people are catching 20-pound pike off docks right now. You know, so they're in shallow right now, and it's a perfect time to go for it with your kids and focusing on perch. And
before we go, I mean, you've been to a few lakes this summer. If you're taking your kids out for a day trip, what are you going to suggest for the best fishing lakes around the city right now?
Well, I think the Buffalo Pound is very good. It's got a really high perch population. All of the Qu'Appelle lakes are very good right now from shore. If you have a friend with a cabin, see if you can go jig off his dock, but you got to ask for permission first if it's a private dock. And a lot of places along shore, especially around the river mouths, are very good as well.
Okay, well, thanks so much for being here, Jason, and any more information, of course, available at Getfishing.ca, your website.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks so much.